Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Am I wrong for telling my friend that I think his girlfriend is about to leave him? Plus update. Original post. I, 30 female, am friends with Ruby, female 30, and Tom, male 31. We met at uni and were part of the same group of friends. They got together in our final year. Then after uni, Tom and I started work. Ruby did masters while working. Her and Tom moved in together. After masters, Ruby landed a very good job, and Tom decided to quit his. Apparently, she wasn't happy, but let it go. Ruby and I were best friends, but after graduation, she became boring. While me and Tom would have a drink or two in their garden, she would study or work, and we drifted apart. Recently, Ruby has been more distant. When I come over and Tom and I sit in the garden, she doesn't even join us, she does her own stuff. She barely acknowledges us, but Tom doesn't see an issue. I tried to tell him, but he said it's fine, at least she doesn't bother him while gaming anymore. She's lost a lot of weight lately. She's gained it because of her thyroid, and has just been focusing on herself. I tried inviting her to have a drink with us, but she always refuses. Frankly, I think she's taken adulting way too seriously. Last Saturday, I was out with some friends and we're doing a pub crawl. At one, I noticed Ruby having a drink with her friends. I didn't even know she had any. And she was her old self, laughing, having fun, cracking jokes. She was the life of the party. I didn't know any of these people, and I suspected Tom didn't either. I texted Tom and he said he's busy with a game and we'll talk later. I couldn't let it go. She went outside with her friend and I followed them. It was crowded so she didn't notice me, and I kind of eavesdropped on them. I was lucky because they're talking about her plans, and it seems that she's planning on leaving Tom. That she's sick of him not working and ignoring her, but been stuck because he doesn't work. She saved money for herself and saved a few months' money for him, so when she leaves, he can have money to live off. I couldn't believe my ears. What a witch. She said she's got her ticket and house sorted, but she saw me before saying more. She looked at me with disgust, didn't even acknowledge me, and she switched to another language with her friend. I got a taxi and went straight to Tom's telling him what I heard. He told me to stop being silly. I told him that he should consider what to do so she stays, and he said she has no reason to leave. We played some games and got a bit more drunk. I stayed on their sofa and didn't know when Ruby came home. I was woken up by Ruby at 2 p.m. and she called me an asshole amongst other names, kicked me out of the house, and telling me to never come again. She was angry because Tom confronted her about leaving. She told me to not meddle, and I told her he has a right to know if she's going to leave and has a chance to make things right. Was I really in the wrong for telling him? I mean, we used to be friends, but I don't think I have any obligation to her, but I am not sure. Am I wrong for warning him? I thought he deserved that. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Congrats, you might have been the last straw that broke the relationship's back. She doesn't seem happy, and neither does Tom. Let the relationship end. And mind your business. It's bizarre you can't understand why she'd want to leave him. You're the idiot. Plus, she was going to pay for jobless Tom's expenses, rent, etc. for a few months. That lady is no witch. She is actually way nicer than any ex deserves. I have never heard of anyone making the independent choice to float their ex, who they share no kids with, after leaving. Ridiculous, and so are you, OP. You are the idiot. Oh heck no, she's a better person than I am. His butt would be on the street already. Or OP's couch. He's happy though, that's why I think he has a right to know. Edit, he said that the only issue they've ever had is her nagging him constantly, but that's been sorted and she stopped, and he's happier than ever. What does it change is that he knows. She was gonna tell him at some point. He wasn't gonna change her mind. You just made the situation worse. I thought he had a right to know to address any issues she may have, and convince her to stay, because he says he loves her and is very happy with her. He loves her because he gets to sit around and do nothing while she works. Why should she be miserable while he gets to do whatever he wants? He helps around the house. He suggested a child a few years back so he could be a stay-at-home dad, but she refused. So, he's been helping with chores. He's not just sitting around gaming. You're the idiot all the way. Meddling. She's too adult. She's a witch for planning to give him money to live on once she leaves. He plays video games and gets drunk while she works. I hope she leaves quickly to go live her adult life, and that you and Tom grow up. You're wrong, OP. Let's not forget the eavesdropping and following too. What is that about? I agree with above comments that she has feelings for Tom, but Tom is also a deadbeat. He just quit his job and has been living off Ruby. I don't blame Ruby for wanting to make a move. I agree she should have been more communicative, but maybe she was, and Tom just ignored it. And now for the update. Crap has hit the fan. Last night, Tom knocked on my door crying. She kicked him out. They were talking, and he was begging for her to stay. He offered to find a part-time job and do more around the house, but she wouldn't listen to him and didn't care that he wanted to try. She said she's leaving in 2 weeks' time. He asked where and if they could meet and work on things while leaving separately, but says she's moving abroad. She asked him to go and stay someplace else while she is packing, and he can move back in once she leaves. She told him she had money saved up for him, so he'll have time to find a job. He asked her if he could get them now, since he has to go someplace else to stay, and she said absolutely not. She also said that because of that, meaning him asking her, she wasn't going to give him money for 6 months as she initially planned, but only for 3 months because he only cares about money. So, he is now staying at mine because he doesn't have money to stay elsewhere for 2 weeks, and she wouldn't even give him a penny. He has his debit card. They had a joint account and she had a separate one, but she's transferred all but £100. That's all he has for 2 weeks. As you can see, she's not the saint you guys make her up to be. Tom is heartbroken, and all she cares is money and her move. She doesn't care how he feels or if he has a place to stay for the 2 weeks. He's happy though, that's why I think he has a right to know. Edit, he said that the only issue they've ever had is her nagging him constantly, but that's been sorted and she stopped and he's happier than ever. Laughing out loud. She stopped nagging because she decided she was 100% done and was just getting her ducks in a row. And apparently she's not a saint, even though she is going to give him enough money to survive for 3 months. She doesn't owe him any money at all. WTF. OP and Tom completely deserve each other as friends. They both think the poor girl should just shut up and pay for everything, do everything, because Tom is happy. How nice for Tom lol. The ex-girlfriend is well rid of both of them. I really kind of love how OP thinks the update made Ruby look worse in any way. Bless her little heart. The only problem was her nagging. Oh wow. No, the only problem he had was her nagging. OP and his bestie are perfect for each. They both have their heads nestled firmly up their butts. But that's been sorted and she stopped and he's happier than ever. A textbook case of walkaway wife right here. She didn't stop being unhappy. She just saw that it was useless to spend her time and energy trying to get him to be better, and she threw the towel in and turned her attention to preparing to leave. Now he's desperate to get her back, and she's already mourned the old relationship and she's ready to move on. Too little too late, bud. As soon as I heard that she stopped nagging, I thought, oh my god, I've never seen anyone breaking up with a slacker boyfriend with this much consideration. And OP can't even see how biased her opinion is. After girlfriend confronted OP about spilling the beans and pushing up everyone's timeline, if I was the girlfriend, I would just tell OP, he's your problem now. I'm no longer giving him money to support himself. You want him to be happy, you take care of him. Next update, OP and Tom are now a couple. Then OP 1 year from now. I take back everything I said about Ruby. I need to get this guy gone. Now for the second story. Update. Am I wrong for refusing to divorce my husband? Original post. I, 30 female, met my husband Dave, 32 male, when we were little. He's been my best friend since we were 10. We were raised in very conservative Christian families in the Bible Belt. We followed the script expected of us, dated in high school, engaged in college, married after his graduation, and kids after I established a career. Kids are 5 and 3. We've been married 10 years. We separated but stayed legally married 3.5 years ago because I finally admitted to him and myself that I'm a lesbian. I thought that I could fake it till I make it, but I just couldn't do it anymore. It was strained for a while and we continued couples therapy. Ultimately, we both wanted to do the best for our kids. For us, that meant continuing to live together. He lives in the apartment above our detached garage because neither of us wanted to be single parents. Eventually, we both started dating other people, and I met my girlfriend Krista about 1.5 years ago. She knew I had kids in an unconventional co-parenting arrangement upfront, and I told her I was still legally married after 6 months of us dating. She had been fine with our living in co-parenting style prior to this, but was less than thrilled by my lack of official divorce. She asked if divorce was eventual, and I told her yes. Dave and I agreed we'd divorce when it no longer was mutually beneficial to remain married, like having a new potential spouse. The longer Krista and I were together, the more my being married bothered her. She feels remaining married symbolizes I'm subconsciously clinging to my straight identity and is a barrier to moving on with my life, which I mildly disagree with but understand. She does not want to get married and had voiced the opinion that it was just a piece of paper, so I'm surprised it's become such a big deal. I agreed 4 months ago that I would bring it up with Dave and set a timeline for divorce by the end of this year to make her happy. But 2 months ago, Dave's company downsized his job, and a week later, he found out his increasing fatigue and illness was aggressive leukemia. He's undergoing treatment that is estimated to be 10% effective in cases like his, and they told him to consider that this might be terminal. If the treatment fails, they've given him 6 months to a year. For Krista, this changes nothing. But for me, divorcing Dave now would be unconscionable and would make what is potentially his final months even harder than they have to be. Whether she likes it or not, he's the father of my children and my oldest friend, so to force the issue while he's fighting for his life would be incredibly selfish and damaging to both him and our kids. She's telling me that not only am I regressing into denial about my sexuality by refusing to bring it up again, but also that I'm already a selfish idiot by leading her on, and that I want the best of both worlds by remaining married to a man while continuing to date a woman. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I am sorry you're going through that. I understand what you wanted in the beginning, but now you are just looking after Dave. I understand where Krista is coming from. You haven't given up your straight relationship yet, and that is frustrating for her. But now I don't think it's about the relationship, it's about your friendship. I am sure others will disagree, but you are likely making Dave's life better at the probable end. I would hope that Krista would be able to understand what you are hoping to do in this scenario. Have you explained to her? I mean, in reality, can you really argue that you have remained married at this point? You guys lead separate lives and are actively dating. At this point, to me, it really is just a piece of paper. I suppose if you still live with him, it's easier to argue, but either way, I don't see the problem. But that's me. Anyways, I hope you figure something out. Best of luck to Dave. I've tried explaining, and she's insisting that the agreement I made with her is more important. She said that if Dave is really okay with my lifestyle like he says, it won't matter to him that we get divorced, and it definitely shouldn't matter to me. Not wrong, it doesn't make sense at this point to get divorced. With all due respect, if he's coming to the end of the road, why not just wait? I'm so sorry if this sounds insensitive, I don't mean it to be. If he makes the recovery, then I'd bring it up, but until then, it's just a matter of time. He doesn't deserve the added stress from his best friend during these more trying last months or year. Your girlfriend needs to respect your family. Thank you, that's how I've felt about it. And you're not insensitive, it's pragmatic. But she's worked it all up to be this big psychological thing. Like, if I don't get the divorce before he passes away, I'll always have some lingering doubt that I really meant our separation. I forget exactly how she phrased it, but I took her words to mean that insisting on a divorce is confirming my new sexuality. Not insisting signifies I'm not really serious or committed to being a lesbian for life. And now for the update. First off, I know this isn't a support sub, and I didn't expect for it to be, but it kinda turned out that way. And I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. I received the most helpful, constructive feedback I've ever gotten in my entire life from this sub. As far as the issue at hand in my last post, I feel confident that I'm doing the right thing by not asking Dave for a divorce. Krista still disagrees, damn near violently. As such, she is no longer my girlfriend. I tried to have a calm adult conversation with her about it the night after my original post. Emphasis on tried. She was immediately aggravated and defensive. Told me that unless the next words out of my mouth involved signing divorce papers, we had nothing to talk about. I asked her why it bothered her so much, and it turned into an argument no matter how calmly I tried to remain. Ultimately, she admitted in a fit of rage that she felt people who stayed friends with their exes are psychologically damaged and guaranteed to cheat. When I asked if she knew my situation and felt that way, why did she press me for a relationship that she originally said she never wanted? She said that she assumed Dave would snap and do something that either was awful or that she could convince me was awful at some point. It then came out in our argument that she was pushing so hard on the divorce issue now to intentionally create tension and shatter Dave and I's care for each other because, again in her opinion, it's completely unnatural. That was it. I told her I was done, and I didn't need a heartless, selfish, insecure, jealousy-riddled piece of trash like her in my life or around my kids. The rest of it after that was just immature on both of our parts, with us both yelling insults at each other while she threw stuff everywhere. Clothes, blankets, couch cushions, looking for things she'd brought to the house and left over the last year. The kids weren't there, thank God. I had the foresight to see if Dave would have the kids for a sleepover in his apartment. I'm okay, I think, grieving a bit, which feels stupid considering everything. But I feel like I had a rotten tooth for so long. I didn't realize how much pain and pressure it was causing me until I yanked it out. Based on your original post, husband is dying. Your kids are about to lose their dad. You are about to lose, sexual orientation aside, someone you've built a life with. Krista does not register any of this as important. Think about that. She wants you to leave a family about to be plunged into a great deal of grief. This is not a person you want around your kids. 100% agree. The sheer toxicity of this person is astounding. considering even if you had gotten a divorce prior. Your husband or ex would be in your life no matter what because you have children together. You made the right choice for both of you and have a healthy co-parenting method. Not many can do that. There is clearly something wrong with her and her thought process, to put it nicely. You're still not wrong, and I'm glad you got out of that relationship. There's absolutely nothing unnatural about exes staying friends if things ended on good enough terms, especially if kids are involved. That kind of absolutist thinking is super toxic. You're a good person for sticking by your husband through all of this, and your kids will think of you very highly for doing the right thing here. Best of luck to you and your family. It sounds like an incredibly tough situation, but you sound like a great person, and I'm sure you'll be a wonderful presence in your husband's life during this upsetting time. Also, look into those books called A Father's Legacy, or something along those lines, for your husband. He can fill them out and leave them for your kids once he's gone. Speaking from experience, getting a book full of anecdotes and advice from my father after he passed didn't make the situation even close to okay, but it really helped a lot, and I still turn to that book all the time when I miss him. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. In the heat of an argument, my brother-in-law revealed my husband's infidelity. He sent me screenshots of their conversations as proof, but my husband claims they're faked. Plus update. Original post. We had a party last night, and my brother-in-law Chris attended. He's 10 years younger than my husband. Near the end of the party, about 2 a.m., I was in the kitchen cleaning up. He was out on the deck talking to Jennifer, a woman Chris graduated with, who lives nearby, and they had both been drinking. The porch door was open, so even though I wasn't eavesdropping, it was impossible not to hear what they were saying. Chris was flirting with her. He kept complimenting her, saying how beautiful and pretty she was, etc. I guess at one point she pulled up his Facebook and saw that he has a girlfriend. He said Jennifer was lovely, and Jennifer said, "Thank you, and it looks like your girlfriend is lovely as well." Chris started saying how they were going through something right now. They weren't technically together, it was an open relationship. Everything he could think of. Jennifer was being really cool about it. She kept saying thank you and how she appreciated his compliments, but she wasn't interested. He was getting kind of annoyed, and at one point he said, "I bet if I was my brother, you'd have no issues with this." Jennifer said, "Your brother is actually loyal. He wouldn't cheat on his wife." To which Chris replied, "My brother cheats on his wife all the time." Jennifer replied she doubted that was true, and Chris said my husband slept with someone he worked with, and that he was planning to sleep with Jennifer as well, and that clearly his plan was working since Jennifer idolizes my husband. At this point, Jennifer told him he was acting out of line and needed to go sober up, and walked away. Chris came storming into the kitchen and saw I was there, and told me something along the lines of how all of that stuff he said was true, and how my husband never gets held accountable. He then proceeded to go into the garage and have a huge screaming fight with my husband. In the fight, Chris said that he didn't deserve anything he had, and my husband had forced Chris to keep his secrets. My husband said that Chris was a liar who wanted to ruin my husband's life, since he was jealous that he's better off in life than Chris is. For relevant context here, Chris was struggling a lot a few years ago, while my husband and I were buying a house, having our first child, etc., and I know he harbors some resentment from that time. The argument ended with my husband kicking Chris out. He immediately told me everything Chris said was a lie, that he was just trying to cause chaos. But when I woke up this morning, Chris had texted me about 20 pictures and videos that were screenshots and screen recordings of conversations between my husband and Chris, talking about how he had gotten drunk and slept with a coworker years ago. Conversations between the two of them about Jennifer that were overtly sexual and showed that he was clearly planning to at least try to hook up with her. There were photos included in these messages. My husband said they were all faked, and he said my brother-in-law has been planning this for a while. I know it's easy to fake a screenshot of a conversation, but there were screen recordings too, as in, I could see the Messenger app being opened and him clicking on the conversation, and everything. The recent conversations match the recent conversations in my husband's phone. But my husband doesn't have any of the incriminating messages my brother-in-law does. Are screen recordings something you can fake? And any other advice on what I should do here is really appreciated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I understand why you are unsure, because a lot of this stuff can be faked now, and this is your marriage, so you want to be careful. The best thing to do is to go directly to brother-in-law and ask him for his phone. See the text messages for yourself, call the number they are attached to, or look at it, and you will be able to see if they are real or fake. You can't fake text messages connected to a phone number, so that should be all you need to do, and I imagine brother-in-law would be happy to confirm. And if he won't, well, that's a point against him. Your brother-in-law was so angry, it wouldn't surprise me he faked them. But he was also clearly frustrated, and if people think your husband is the golden child, or if he feels that way, he could have finally snapped and really be telling the truth. It is very hard, within 24 hours, to fake not just text messages, but text messages dated a year ago, and to do a video recording. But I'm no tech expert, so who knows? It is worth talking to brother-in-law and getting his phone in your hands to confirm. For what it's worth, a few decades as a software engineer. Yes, all this can be faked. If I can make Putin do the chicken dance, then all of this can be falsified. Note the number, note the timestamps of the messages, cross-reference the timestamps with your mobile phone bill. It would be very hard to fake all that and keep it synchronized. The only way I can think how to fake a screen recording is if he was sending those messages to someone else and changed the name in his phone to your husband's to make it look like he said them. But you then say that the previous messages match up to the ones your husband did send. I think brother-in-law is telling the truth. If the brother-in-law is really committed, then he could copy over the other messages and continue the flow of convo. I mean, there's 2 sets of the convo after all. It wouldn't be that hard if he's already faking the dirty stuff. Tell me what sounds more plausible. 1. That your husband is cheating, and in a moment of frustration, his brother told his secrets. 2. In a Count of Monte Cristo style twist, your brother-in-law has faked establishing a closer relationship with his brother for the past 5 years, has engaged in creating fake texts and screen recordings to incriminate your husband, and then staged an argument with a woman he was trying to hook up with, all in an effort to ruin your relationship because he was resentful that you guys were in a better place than he was years ago. Apply Occam's razor, and I think you have your answer. Occam's razor here means the end of a marriage, so you have to be absolutely sure. I know people who have been so resentful of someone else that they would make up lies about people all the time. I've seen it firsthand. There are apps that will incorporate current texts, and you can fake anything. It's so easy to do now that you can't rule that out, especially when the end result is divorce. Edit. Please stop saying I am in denial, that I'm blindly believing my husband, etc. I am posting on here looking for more information so I can make an informed decision, and not make a rash one. I have not stated either way who I do or do not believe. For clarification, my husband is not claiming that my brother-in-law faked all of these screenshots last night. He's saying this is something my brother-in-law has been planning to do for a while. He said he's always harbored resentment for him, which is true. Chris is very resentful of my husband. So he says Chris could have done this at any time and just had them ready. Update. I am meeting up with my brother-in-law to see his phone in person to see the messages and verify if they're real or not. Now for the full update. My husband and I both went over my brother-in-law's. My husband was remaining adamant that he'd never sent those messages or cheated on me. When we got to Chris's house, he was able to provide the screenshots and screen grabs, but not the actual messages. He claimed he deleted the messages after he got the screenshots for storage reasons on his phone. Even so, my brother-in-law insisted the screenshots were real, and that my husband just deleted the messages off his phone. My husband and I went as far as to go online and check our itemized bill. There are days where my brother-in-law has screenshots, where according to our phone bill, my husband never texted him that day, or even the days before or days following for that matter. I don't know why my brother-in-law had these fabricated conversations, nor when he was planning to reveal them, or if he just made them to have just in case to use as blackmail, or to threaten him. But he used an app to create them. We didn't get much out of him as far as reasoning. We're going to go very low contact with my brother-in-law for the time being. I thought as in my husband's relationship was getting better, but it clearly isn't. For what it's worth, the coworker that my husband apparently slept with was 3 days postpartum with her and her husband's 3rd child when my brother-in-law claims the affair happened. Additional info. He's been wanting to hook up with Jennifer, and she has absolutely no interest in him. But he overheard Jennifer talking about what an amazing husband and father my husband is. So, after she rejected him again, that set him off. Why is my brother-in-law resentful of my husband? He resents my husband because of the way their parents treated them. My husband never got into any trouble, so his parents treated him well. When we got married, they gave us the down payment for our house. They paid off both of our college debts, so we could have a clean start. My brother-in-law was more rambunctious as a child, so he was always treated like a criminal and eventually began behaving the part. My in-laws never helped him financially when he needed it. My father-in-law is very tough on him. Sorry, your brother-in-law is a psycho in my eyes. He needs help. Yeah, I didn't realize how far he was willing to go to get back at my husband. I would even get a restraining order. He tried to ruin both your lives over his ego. You were very smart about how you handled all of this. Some people just have a different operating system than most of us and will therefore do things way beyond what we can understand. It's good that you first assumed the more rational, likely solution, then were willing to accept the more out there conclusion when facts were presented. This man has likely not shown the full extent of what he's capable of. Be very cautious. This is exactly why you were looking for actual advice and not just believing your brother-in-law or hubby. Glad you have sorted it out. Oh, and brother-in-law is a twat. Thank you very much. And yes, he is. I don't know if you learned any from this experience of sharing and looking for ideas on here, but so many people saying your husband cheated and asking you to quit the marriage says a lot about Reddit and its users, and how just because some things sounds reasonable doesn't mean they are staying facts. It's important to get as much info as possible before we come to any conclusion, no matter how things look initially. I'm glad you got things cleared. And be safe, because your brother-in-law sounds erratic, and the kind of guy who enjoys revenge and getting back at people. 3 days postpartum. I'm screaming. Your brother-in-law is a great moron. I can't believe he tried to ruin your lives. I know, I'm pretty shocked. If I had believed this, I would have left my husband, and the people who would suffer the most would be the kids. He's their uncle. I'm still in disbelief this happened. I would really consider actual no contact and security for your home. That level of jealousy is nothing to be ignored. He sounds unhinged and dangerous. Now for the last story. I am going to divorce my husband of 10 years, plus update. Original post. My husband and I met when I was 18. It had always been just me and my best friend, but when my husband came along, we became an inseparable trio. For me, it was love at first sight. I had the biggest crush on him, but didn't want to ruin the friendship thing we had, so I kept it to myself, until he confessed to me when we were 20. Things went fast and we got married when we were 22. My best friend got married too, and we have all remained close. We had invited my best friend and her husband around for dinner, and we were joking about the things we got up to, and my husband brought up how he had always had a crush on my best friend, but then she got a boyfriend, so he settled for me instead. I tell you, my whole world just came crashing down. I realized my marriage of 10 years was him settling for second best, that I was never his first option. After that, everything he did just started to annoy me, and he just stopped being attractive to me anymore. We haven't slept together in 6 months because I feel so disgusted. I just want out. I feel like I've wasted my life. I'm disappointed in him and myself for believing I was the one he liked. Edit. Okay, I'll just answer the main questions here because I don't want to keep answering them. No, yes, I don't care, I don't know. I tried to talk it out for 6 months. Edit. Husband knows about the divorce. I told my best friend and she told my husband. So I come home to a don't leave him intervention where they all wanted to work it out. I have never been so confused because for the past 6 months, I've been trying to ask him what he feels and what he meant by his comment, and to answer my questions, like literally to the point I have screamed it in his face to just tell me. And he's been saying nothing, and she has been encouraging me to talk to him but keeping her distance. I thought it was because she didn't like him. Apparently, she just thinks we are perfect together, and he doesn't want to lose what we have. What do we have? We are basically roommates who are intimate at this point. I think I won't update this because I'm a bit miffed and angry. I am going to go stay at my mom's or something. Now for the top comments before reading the update. There was a similar story on Reddit a few weeks back about a husband who announced to his entire family that he settled for his wife and initially found her repulsive before falling in love with her. And surprise, it made the wife fall out of love with him. Why do people think it's a cute joke to be like, at first I thought I could do way better than you, but eventually I was like, maybe I can't. Dumb as hell. I remember that story. Repulsive. What a word to just throw around. The only way, at first I found my wife repulsive, would make sense as a joke, is if you had met her initially after she had just had a Back to the Future Biff-style manure accident, or something similar. He just announced this in middle of a dinner casually, like it was a funny story. In 6 months, he hasn't noticed you're upset. He hasn't questioned what the issue is. I think your marriage has been over and you haven't realized it yet. Yeah, he announced it like a funny story. And he has noticed I'm upset. I am not quiet. I've told him why I'm upset, but he just can't understand because he chose me. He can't understand because he sees himself as the prize. You have nothing to be upset about. You want him. Exactly. But he isn't a prize, he's a person with flaws like the rest of us, and if he sees himself as that valuable that I should just be happy that he settled for me, then how does he see me? Bro, that would be awkward as heck. If I was the best friend's husband, I'd have to talk to him in private, because have you been waiting on my girl this whole time? He was very angry, but he was very polite about it. I don't even know what I would have done if I was in his shoes. Honestly though, because I feel like someone would only say that to plant a seed and get the other person thinking, sorry that happened to you, but good for you for not sticking around. And now for the update. Okay, so pretty major update that I said I wouldn't do, but I am not a man of my word and never said I was. Today I got a message from best friend's husband asking where she was, and I had no idea because I am at my mother's house. Can we guess where she is? She is at my freaking house with my freaking husband. What weird freaking universe am I living in? Anyway, yeah, so I'm leaving and taking all my stuff with me. My mom will have to put up with me for a while. Divorce is definitely happening. I'm going to get therapy.